harder one. So this will just be your starter. So any idea how you find this angle? Let's see if you remember this. So you have to
Well, there's a
find,
right angle of 70 degrees.
yeah.
Does that have anything to do with it? The whole thing is 180 degrees because it's a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not really that sure.
So if you had to find like this side, anything that involves three sides in a right angled triangle would be Pythagoras. Anything that involves two sides and one angle in a right angled triangle is SOHCAHTOA. So any idea how we do SOHCAHTOA for this one?
We've got to find it first. So the hypotenuse is the longer line, isn't it?
I would say it's the one opposite the right angle.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the 17?
I'm not sure what the other ones are called.
So in relation to the angle P, that's the one we're trying to find, the 17,
Yeah.
do you remember the name of the other two things, the O and the A?
Oh, that's it. Isn't there like... there's an opposite angle.
Yeah, opposite side, and the A stands for
Adjacent.
adjacent. Yeah. And so the 17, is it opposite P or adjacent to P?
The 17 is adjacent.
Yeah. Okay, so we have the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So we've labeled our triangle. Next we are selecting sine, cos or tan. Which one is it going to be for this one?
Is it cut?
That's it. Do you remember the formula for that one?
No, I don't.
So the C is cosine. It's always sine, cos or tan of an angle. And it's always the first one over the second one. So K is AH, so it's A over H. Sine is O over H, tan is O over A. Okay, so we selected cos, we wrote out the formula. Now sub into the formula what you know.
7/25.
That's it. And I'm also going to, just for the sake of clarity, so this is the angle P. So instead of writing A for angle, I'm going to write P, just so you know what your answer represents.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're trying to find out what P is equal to. How do we do that? At the moment, yeah, go on, sorry.
You just have to work out 17/25.
So 17 over 25 is 0.68. So cos P is 0.68. We want to know what P is. So how do we go from having cos P to just P?
You got to get rid of the adjacent and you got to find the hypotenuse because that's the only one that's not adjacent or opposite.
Well, we're down to like this state. We've kind of already done all that, so we're kind of down to this stage in the equation. So we don't need the diagram or anything anymore. So it's literally just cos P equals 0.68. We're trying to just get rid of cos, so we get just P equals. Any idea what gets rid of cos? What eliminates cos?
Do you have to divide by something?
So you have the right idea. If this was times cos, you would do divide by cos, or if it was plus cos, you would do minus cos. Because this is the cos of p, you have to do like the opposite of cos, and that's called arc cos, and it looks like that, cos with a little -1, and that's like the opposite of cos or reverse cos, and it gets rid of cos. And so you've got cos -1 of 0.68. Any idea how you put that arc cos into your calculator?
Would you just do the exact same as normal cos, but it's like a minus?
Like, how do you get that on the calculator?
Oh, it's don't you use some of the brackets to get cos?
It'll involve brackets, but like, what buttons do I have to press? If I press cos, I just get cos. What buttons do I have to press to get that little yellow cos -1 just above it?
It's x -1.
Nope. So basically this cos is yellow, so you have to press this yellow shift first. So it's basically shift cos gets you that. Yeah, so shift cos 0.68. Okay, they want this to 1 decimal place. What would that be?
47.2.
That's it. So P equals 47.2 degrees. So that's it. That's 3 marks. And all SOHCAHTOA questions, if it's a missing side, if it's a missing angle, they can always be done by these 5 steps. Label, select sine, cos, or tan, write the formula, sub what you know into the formula, and solve the equation. Any questions about anything there?
No.
Okay. I want to see. So it's just a starter. Let's try this one. Any idea how we go with this one?
I'm not sure.
Go on. Why? What's the problem with this one?
It's got like 2 different triangles.
Yeah. So we're trying to find the angle X. Well, I would just do step 1, label the sides, or what could you do there?
Sorry, I didn't. My computer like lagged. I didn't hear that.
So what could you? What sides could you label, or what sides do you know? How could we go about this?
The hypotenuse, which is the long, or the like straight side.
So, like, from what to what? What letter to what letter?
B to
A. The hypotenuse, I wouldn't think of it as the longest side. I think of it as the side opposite the right angle. Because it's not really helpful that it's the longest side. Okay, so what side is the hypotenuse?
Is the hypotenuse just A to C?
Yeah, okay. So that would be for this like huge triangle, like the big triangle. So that could be the hypotenuse. Okay, what other side do we know?
There's the opposite, which is always going to be the small one.
And so what side is opposite the angle?
B to C.
We're looking at this angle, the x and the 30, because we don't have the other one. So the only other side we know is AB.
Yeah.
So where would that side be in relation to the angle C?
Wait, what do you have to do?
So we're just labeling the side, like we're looking at this big triangle. So
Yeah.
what is the side AB in relation to the angle that we're trying to find?
So you have to add 10.4 centimeters and 5.2 centimeters.
Yeah, and what is that?
That is 15.6 centimeters.
Okay, and what is that side in relation to the angle? We already have the hypotenuse.
18 centimeters.
So the hypotenuse is 18. You said that side is 15.6, but what is that side? Is it opposite or opposite or adjacent to the angle?
Isn't it opposite?
Yeah, it's opposite. Okay, and how could you write an expression for the angle if it's these two angles put together? Because we're looking at the big triangle.
You have to find what the difference is between them.
Well, we don't know what x is. So if we knew that, let's say x was 10, what would be the big blue angle?
10.
So if we knew x was 10, what would be the total angle?
X plus 10. 10. Oh, it'd be 40 degrees.
Yeah, and so what could we write? So it's basically whatever that is plus 30. So what expression could we write for the angle? In terms of algebra.
C.
Okay, we'll call it C. Okay, so we've labeled our triangle. We now have to select sine, cos, or tan.
Is it so?
Yeah. Any idea what the formula is for that?
I'm not sure. I haven't done this in about a year.
Okay. So the S stands for sine. It's always sine of the angle, and it's always the first over the second, opposite over hypotenuse. Okay. So next is we wrote the formula. Now sub in what you know.
So the opposite over the hypotenuse is 15.6 over 18.
Yeah. And the angle is C. Okay, how do we get this angle C?
Do this. I'm not sure.
Well, what will get rid of sine?
You have to use sine minus 1. The thing that you did in the calculator.
Yeah. And so what am I putting into my calculator to get the angle C?
Shift sine.
Yeah.
And then 15.6 over 18.
That's it. Okay, to one decimal place.
60.1.
So that's the angle C. Is that full marks?
Yeah.
What did the question ask us for?
find x.
Okay, so if the total angle C is 60.1, how do we get x?
You've got to do 60.1 take away 60.1, add 30 degrees.
Well, C was the big blue angle, the total angle.
What do you mean?
So the angle C is both of these angles put together, 30 plus x.
Yeah.
So how do we get just x?
You need to do 60.1 take away 30.
That's it. And what is that?
30.1.
That's it. So x equals 30.1 degrees. That's correct. That's 4 marks. And in general for this one, it's the exact same SOHCAHTOA type of thing. Label, select, sine, cos, or tan, write the formula, sub into it, and solve. The only difference is that it's two triangles put together. And then to get your final answer, you just had to subtract the extra bit. Any questions there?
No.
Okay. I can find an unknown angle using SOHCAHTOA for 4 marks. X a half or tick.
Probably between half and a tick.
Okay. Okay, so this one you have to. So this is finding an unknown length. So exact same method. You have to find the length DE. How do you go about that?
Well, hypotenuse is 25 meters.
Well done.
The adjacent is D to F.
Yeah.
And then the opposite is D to E.
Okay. And because we don't know what D to F is, and we don't need to find it, I'm just not even gonna label that. Okay, so we labeled it. Next is select sine, cos, or tan.
So.
Yeah. What's the formula for sine?
Do you have to do one over the other in division?
You would just write out what is the formula for sine.
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Oh,
so we had the formula for sine. This one.
hello.
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So formula for sine, opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, and it's always sine of the angle. Okay, what's next?
You do, but we don't know what the opposite is yet.
So I'll just call it DE because that's what we're trying to find.
Yeah, over 25 meters.
Yeah, and what goes on the left side?
Sine minus.
Well, we first have to sub in.
So, is it 40?
Yeah, sine 40, sine of the angle. Okay, so now we're trying to figure out what DE is equal to. How do we do that?
You need to calculate how long the opposite is.
So how do we go from having DE over 25 to just DE?
Divide by 25.
It's already divided by 25?
Multiply it by 25.
That's it. So you times both sides by 25. And so what is going into my calculator for this one?
Since we did so, you got to do so minus.
That's not what we have. So that would be for an unknown angle. But for this one, we're saying that DE is sine 40 times 25. So we had sine 40, we times it by 25, and that gives us DE.
Yeah.
So what am I putting into my calculator?
I'm not sure how you get the numbers. Like, I'm not sure what. Would you have to put in like? I'm not sure what you could do to substitute for the DE.
Well, that's, you can call it X if you want. Like we don't put that into a calculator. We're just putting the left side in.
I'm not sure what numbers to put in.
So it's basically sine 40. So DE is sine 40 times by 25. So it's literally just sine 40 times by 25. Okay, to 3 significant figures.
16.069.
That's 3 decimal places. 3 significant figures is like 3 digits.
20.
That's 1 significant figure. Three sig fig is like 3 digits, so like 1, 2, 3.
16.1.
Yeah, that's it. So DE is 16.1, and this was sine 40 times 25, and you can just do it like that: 25 times sine 40, or sine 40 times 25. And yeah, any questions about anything there?
No.
Okay, so that's 16.1, 3 marks. These will be similar. Let me just see. That's the opposite. Straightforward enough. Okay, 3 mark. Sokotoa, finding an unknown side. X a half or tick.
Probably a tick.
Okay. That's area. I think I'll just move on to the other stuff. Yeah. Okay, area of a triangle is a half times base times height. In this triangle up here, what is sine C in terms of A and H? So in the left triangle, what is sine C in terms of A and H?
Would you need to do the calculation for sine first?
Yeah, so sine is what?
Sine is opposite over hypotenuse.
And for this one, what is the opposite? What is the hypotenuse?
Hypotenuse is A.
Mm-hmm.
Opposite is H.
Yeah, so the H stands for height. Okay, so how would you get H equals?
Is that it?
Yep. So part B, make H the subject. So what is H equal to? How do you get that?
H is, well, H is the opposite, isn't it?
Like if you were to rearrange this equation, what would H be equal to? At the moment it's H over A. You want just H equals.
So H times A.
Yeah, so you times both sides by A. And so so that on the right side, that will give you just H. What do you now have on the left side?
You know, multiplied by 9.
We don't have any numbers. That's an A.
Just have to do the C.
So it's literally just sine C times A.
Oh.
So it's literally just sine C times A, and I'll write it the other way. I'll write A times sine C. So that's A times sine C. And actually, in the same way that you can write like 3x is short for 3 times x. A times sine C you can write as A sine C. Same thing. Okay, and then part C. So we have a half times base times height. That's the area. We know that the height is A sine C, A times sine C. So in your area formula, replace H with A sine C, and what do you get?
Replace H
Yeah,
with C sine C.
yeah, with A sine C.
So do this do A sine C?
Mm-hmm.
You have to multiply it by the height.
So it's literally in a half base times height, so a half BH. H equals A sine C. So in the formula, instead of H, you just write A sine C. So what do you get?
Yeah.
What's the new formula for the area?
A sine C.
Yeah, and we have something else is missing.
H.
Well, we replaced H with A sine C. So what else
Oh,
have we
is
got?
that? I thought that. So it's not. That.
So it's basically instead of H, we're replacing with A sine C. So instead of a half, hi, can you hear me?
Not very.
I'm not sure. So basically, instead of a half BH, it's a half B A sine C. And so that's a different way of writing the formula for the area of a triangle. So they put it into alphabetical order, a half AB sine C. And it's used to find the area of a triangle when you don't know its height. And in reality, this A, B, and C means basically a half times one side times any other side times the sine of the angle between them. So any idea how you could use that to find the area of this triangle?
Well, isn't the angles all sort of equal?
No. That would only be if all the sides were the same length.
Like B would B just be 7 centimeters.
You don't really need any other angles or heights or sides.
I do not know at all.
So it's just a half times a side times any other side times the sine of the angle between the two sides.
Okay, what half?
Sorry?
What do you mean by half? Like half of what?
Like 0.5.
Alright, so 0.5 times 7
Yeah,
times 6
yeah.
times sine.
Sine of what?
Opposite over hypotenuse.
It's just the sine of the angle C.
But what's this? I don't know what the sine of the angle C is.
What is the angle C?
60 degrees.
Yeah, So it's just sine 60, whatever that is. And we let our calculator figure it out for us. So it's 0.5 times 7 times 6 times sine of the angle between them, 60. Okay, to 3 significant figures, what is this?
Is it 18.9?
Well, the first decimal, the third significant figure at the moment is 1. I think you're looking at the fourth significant figure.
It's 18.1 then.
That would be if it was rounding down. This is closer to rounding up.
18.2.
That's it. So the area of this triangle is 18.2 centimeters squared. So 18.2, 2 marks. And basically what it boils down to is area of a triangle is usually a half times base times height. In this triangle, we don't know what the height is. But in this one here, we proved that height is the same as A times sine C. Basically, a half times one side times any other side times sine angle between them. And that will work for getting the area of any triangle. Any questions there?
No.
Okay. So, same idea. Try this one. And they give you this formula. You just have to know how to use it. Same with the area of this triangle.
Need to find the hypotenuse and all of that first.
Nope. That would be for a right angled triangle. This is for finding the area of any triangle. This is for when you don't know the height.
Oh, you have to do 0.5 times 9.2.
Yeah.
Times 14.6.
Yeah.
Times so. Is that
it? Sine, cos, or tan always has to be of an angle.
Yeah. So, what would it be for sine?
Well, for this one, it has to be the sine of the angle between the two sides you used.
Oh, so the sine's got to be 9.2 over 14.6.
Nope. It has to be the sine of an angle. Sine, cos, or tan of an angle.
With an angle, but the angle they got is 64.
Yeah, it's sine 64. Because 64 is between the two sides that we used. So 9.2 is there, 14.6 is there, and so it's the sine of the angle between them. Okay, that goes in the calculator. 9.2. So this one was decimal numbers, but because it's a calculator question, it shouldn't be any more work. 3 significant figures. What is this?
60.3.
Are you sure?
60.4.
Yeah. 60.4, and this time is meters squared. So 60.4, that's 2 marks. Yeah, so it's always 0.5 times one side times any other side times sine angle between those two sides that you used. Any questions there?
No.
Okay. I can find the area of a scalene triangle for 2 mark questions. X a half or tick.
In between half.
Okay.
And a tick.
Okay. Okay, let's try this one.
So I need to draw a triangle. It's 15 meters.
Okay, so sketch a triangle. So that's a great idea. I would need to do that. Its perimeter has 15. Okay, so how am I gonna do this question?
Well, if it's 15 meters, and you just do 5 meters per side.
That's it, and that's because it's an equilateral. So that means all three are the same. So they're
Yeah.
5, and 5, right?
Yeah.
And okay, we're trying to find the area of this triangle.
Yeah. So just do 5 times 5 times 5.
That's not the formula for area. That's
Oh, you 0.5 times. Is it like that, or?
yep. If we don't know the height, then we have to do it that way.
Yeah. So 0.5 times 5 times 5.
Okay, and so what's the problem we're hitting into at the end?
There's no angle.
So any idea about angles for this one? What? Do you have to do it times 5 again? There's no Well, it's supposed to be times sine of the angle. Any idea about what these angles will be?
Well, if it's an equilateral, it's going to be 60 degrees per angle.
Correct. So it's 5, 5, 5 for lengths and 60, 60, 60 for angles. Okay.
Yeah.
And so what's going into my calculator for this one?
0.5 times 5 times 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then times 60.
The formula has sine C. Sine 60.
Times C.
Oh
yeah.
So sine 60. Okay, so 1 decimal place.
10.8.
That's it. And yeah, I thought like most students put in 60 and they don't realize it's supposed to be sine 60, like it's sine of the angle. So I was just checking that. 10.8, 3 marks. Any questions there?
No.
Okay, you're looking good for that one. This is more of an exam revision time question. Okay, so here's a really challenging one. Is it too challenging? Let me just see. Let's do this one instead. Any idea how we do this
one?
So we want to find the area of this parallelogram.
So you start by doing 0.5 times 5 times 7.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And then you do times 40 degrees, or cos 40 degrees.
Not cos. What's the formula?
Oh, what?
No.
Is it? So.
Yeah, it's always sine for the area. SOHCAHTOA is for right angled triangles. The area, trig area of a triangle the whole purpose of it is that it's not a right angled triangle. If it was, you would just do a half times base times height.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one, 0.5 times 5 times 7 times sine 40. That works because what is the length of the top?
It doesn't tell you what the length of the top is.
Well, it's a parallelogram. You might be able to tell just by looking at it.
Oh, it's 7 centimeters.
Yeah. So a parallelogram is like a rectangle that's just been pushed over a bit. But this is and so it's literally a half times 5 times 7 times sine the angle between them, 40. But that's for a triangle. How do we get the total area for this parallelogram?
I'm not. Do you just 5/7?
So basically what we've just found is the area of the triangle on the right, because this is the formula for area of a triangle. So basically we split it in half, and we found the area of this triangle on the right. So any idea how we get the total area?
Oh, just half it.
Well, we did half it. We found just this area here, but between the 5 and the 7. So just that triangle.
If you want the total area, seeing as you've already have to just do it again after.
Yeah, basically you double it. So you just do whatever your answer is times by 2, because that would get you both triangles. Okay, so that goes into our calculator. 0.5 times 5 times 7 times sine 40, and I just need to make sure I close that bracket, times by 2, because there's 2 triangles this time, to 1 decimal place.
Um, 22.5.
That's it. So that's equal to 22.5 centimeters squared. 22.5, and that's 3 marks. It's basically you can find the area of half the parallelogram using the formula, so you double it to get the total. Any questions there?
Yeah.
Okay. So we
There.
I can hear me. Let's try this one. Any idea?
Yeah, I can't hear.
Oh.
I can't hear you very well.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you fine now.
Okay. Okay, this time we don't have numbers, we have letters. How will we do this one?
Start doing 0.5 multiplied by 2 because 2, you can just say that's 1.
Okay, we'll do that in a second. Okay.
Then times 1x.
Yeah.
And then so it's sine.
Yeah, sine. It has to be sine of something.
Sine 30.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we simplify this thing? Oh, so this is the area, and they said the area of a triangle is A, so that's A equals, because that's the area. Okay, how do we simplify this right side? Is there anything we can simplify?
You could get rid of the PQR equals ACM squared.
Well, that's... I just mean this bit here. Is there anything we can simplify? So I think you started saying it before, like you were saying 0.5 times 2, all that stuff.
I'm not really sure what you could simplify.
Let's say 0.5 times 2.
Yeah.
What would that be?
1.
Yeah, so that's just 1x times x times sine 30. Anything else you can simplify there?
1x.
So x, you've got x times x. What is that?
X times x squared.
Yeah. So you've got x squared times sine 30. Any idea how you simplify that?
X squared times x 30.
Any idea what sine 30 is? Or how you can figure it out?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, can you hear me?
It's a little bit muffled.
Yeah, mine did the same. Any idea how you figure out what sine 30 is?
You do 30 over something, is it something like that?
No, sine 30 is just a number. You can just use your calculator to do it. So literally just
Oh, yeah.
sine 30. Okay, it's a half. And so that's a half. And so what do you now have on the right side?
You have half.
So x squared times a half, how would you write that?
X squared times 1 over 2.
Yeah, I'll write it as a half x squared. Same
Yeah.
thing. Okay, so they said show that x equals the square root of 2a. So we have a half x squared. We need to get x equals. Any idea how we do that?
You have to do x equals the square root of 2a.
Yeah, but we have to show that x equals the square root of 2a. So how do we... Basically, we have to get rid of a half and we have to get rid of squared. So how do we get rid of half? How do we get rid of squared?
To get rid of half, you need to double it.
Well done. And so if you double both sides, what do you now have?
A squared equals half x cubed. No, half x to the power of 4.
Well, the times by 2 was to get rid of the half. So we don't have the half anymore.
So, it's just x squared times 2 is x to the power of 4, isn't it?
Well, it was a half x squared times 2. So the times 2 gets rid of the half. So it's now just x squared. The half is gone.
Yeah, so a squared equals x squared.
A squared means to the power of 2. How do you write a times 2?
A times 2 is... Is that a to the power of 2 or 2a?
2a, yeah. Okay, so x squared is 2a. How do you get rid of squared?
Square root.
That's it. So square root of that. And so what's your final answer?
Square root of 2a equals x.
That's it. Square root of 2a equals x, or x equals the square root of 2a, which is what they wanted.
Yeah.
Any questions there?
No.
Okay, so I mean that was basically grade 7 trig area of a triangle. Instead of using letters, you're not using numbers. And then also grade 7 rearranging harder formulae, which is when you have to square root to get rid of a squared thing. Yeah. I'll just recap this because it was a lot. And why have you not done Sokotoa in a year? What's going on?
I last did it in year 9 and I'm in year 10 now. So I've still got one more left until my GCSEs.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you're in year 10 now. When are you taking your exam?
I've got 1 year and 70 days until I do them. So I've got quite a while.
Okay. Um, okay,
Yeah.
maybe another time, like in another lesson, I'll just do the hardest Sokoto questions and kind of build that one up.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so Pythagoras is when it involves three sides of a right angled triangle. If something involves two sides and one angle in a right angled triangle, then it is Sokotoa. Um,
Yeah.
Sokotoa, they always give you two things and you have to find the third. So they might give you two sides, they might give you a side and an angle, they might give you opposite angle, they might give you hypotenuse and angle, but it's basically the same thing. Label the sides, select the formula, write out the formula. Some people skipped step 3. They'll just write it right away. But a lot of the time they'll put like hypotenuse on the top and adjacent on the bottom. But if you write out the formula, you never make that mistake.
Yeah.
Sub in what you know, and then you solve the equation. Um, okay. So that was that one. Okay, so we did this harder one, which was basically when you've got two triangles put together, but it's the same idea. The only
Yeah.
difficulty was in recognizing that you couldn't do it with the bottom triangle, you couldn't do it with the top triangle, so you had to do it with the whole triangle.
Yeah.
Finding a missing side is the exact same system. You're just not using inverse sine, inverse cos, or inverse tan because you don't need to.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I can.
I don't know. Okay, and then we looked at so area of a triangle is a half times base times height. If you don't know the height, you can just do a half times base times any other side times sine of the angle between them. And that's because the height is the same as the other side times the sine of the angle between them. So we practiced that. So first we proved where the formula comes from. Then we practiced it for 2 questions, both 2-mark questions. And what was I going to say? Yes. So it's never just the angle, it's the sine of the angle, sine 64. And that just goes in your calculator. This one, they made you draw a diagram yourself, but other than that, it was exactly the same. This one will revise around exam time, I think. And then this one was pure algebra, so there wasn't any final answer like the area is 15 or something. So this was practicing doing it with grade 7 area and then grade 7 rearranging formulae. So that was probably the hardest one. And then this one was basically you just had to recognize that finding the area of the triangle gives you half the parallelogram, so you double your answer to get the total area.
Yeah.
I can find the area of a scalene triangle for 3-mark questions, x a half or tick.
Probably a tick.
Okay, so that's the grade 7 one anyway. How did you find that, James?
Yeah, it's really helpful actually. Yeah, so thank you. It was really good.
It's tricky stuff.
Yeah.
Any idea